Alright, what is good with y'all today? Earlier this morning, there was a Pokemon Presents today, and we finally, after a year of waiting, got footage and news for Pokemon Legends ZA. And I did record my reaction to it, but I'm not gonna lie, my reaction was a little bit lackluster because they didn't really show too much, right? So I'm gonna include my reaction, but I'm gonna put it towards the end of the video, so that way if people want to see it, they could just watch it there. But it wasn't something that I was gonna make as a standalone video since it wasn't all that good of a reaction at all. But besides that, we got a bunch of news that came out for the game, and I'm gonna be using Cerebee's Twitter, so go follow them since they're dropping a lot of info for this game. And I'm also gonna be taking a quick look at the trailer. I'm not gonna make it like a super long video and just analyze everything, but I do want to like look at some like things that really caught my eye. Okay, first things first, the starters. The starters for this game is gonna be Chikorita, Tepig, and Totodile. And honestly, I don't know how to feel about this choice when it comes to the starters, because while I don't hate it, I think having two Johto starters is a bit much. Like I probably would have wanted something like a Mudkip, maybe a Piplup, or even like Sobble, even though it's from Gen 8, but I probably would have wanted that aside from something like two Johto starters. I don't know who they would have replaced, but just having one Pokemon from each region probably would have been better. But still, regardless, I'm excited for it because I like all three of those starters. I like all the starters, but I like those three, so I'm not too mad at the choice that they made with it. The next big thing is that Lumino City will have wild zones. So I'm guessing by wild zones, they're kind of like referring to like open zone areas when it comes to like Sword and Shield with the wild zone, and just like the open world aspect from Scarlet and Violet. And the thing that kind of has me worried there is that I think this game is just gonna take place completely in Lumino City. Now, of course, I could be wrong. This is like the first real trailer that we've got on this game. They haven't really showed off too much. They're probably just holding out on some information for a later trailer, and maybe we will be able to explore some other parts of the region, but it seems like the main place that we're going to be exploring will be in Lumino City. Another big thing that we saw was that you could move around in the battles. Now, that's not necessarily new because you were able to do that in Legends Arceus, but it also seems like you can move around with your Pokemon, and the opposing Pokemon along with its trainer can also move around and stuff like that. And it also seems like the Pokemon can dodge. Like if you're fast enough, you can make your Pokemon dodge, or maybe they'll dodge on their own, but it seems like Pokemon can have the ability to just full-on dodge attacks if you're lucky enough. And I think this is great because I mean the whole aspect of walking around during a Pokemon battle was cool in Legends Arceus, but you never really had any type of purpose to really move around. It was just something, I guess you could see a battle from different angles, but there wasn't really too much to it. And when it came to Scarlet and Violet, they just completely removed it in general. So I think having something like this back in the game will add a bit more like depth to the combat. And we also got a release date. Well, not a solid release date, but we do know from the Japanese trailer for this game that this game is going to be releasing in fall, which is a good thing because when this game was originally announced last year, I would figure this was going to be coming out maybe like mid 2025, but seeing that they're pushing it to fall, which is where they're pushed almost all their mainline Pokemon games, so like November, it seems like they're gonna be taking more time to like really work on this game, which I really hope they do because I really want this game to be better than Legends Arceus. We also got a look at the map for Lumino City, and it seems like this game is gonna be very massive. Like this town is quite large in scale as compared to what it was in X and Y, which I mean for X and Y it's a 3DS game, so of course they had to scale it down, but it does seem like they're gonna be making this city a lot larger than what it was originally. And maybe that's why they're trying to justify it with making this game like mostly in the city, but like I mentioned before, maybe that's not going to be the case. We just gotta wait for more info. But from what it looks like, the city is really massive. There's going to be a lot of Pokemon you could catch in it, and it seems to be really good so far when it comes to how much you can explore in the city. And because why not, we could also look at the character designs for a bunch of the new characters. And of course, the big thing that was revealed in the trailer was AZ. AZ is going to be coming back, and I had a feeling that he would come back, but it is still surprising to see how he looks in this game. And you can see in his artwork that he has his floette. So that makes me wonder, like, does this take place possibly beforehand or possibly after the events of X and Y? It's probably after the events of X and Y, because despite the fact that AZ looks like he's wearing a bunch of like old clothes, everyone else is dressed rather like fashionably. None of their outfits really scream like this is from like the old times, right? But that does lead to question, like, what happened to Kalos, or more specifically Lumino City, in between the events of X and Y in this game that caused it to be rebuilt? Who knows, it maybe had to do something with Lysander, maybe not, maybe it was a completely new thing that we'll get to see. But I am intrigued because I always felt like X and Y had a lot of potential story-wise, so seeing them trying to redeem it with this game will be nice to see. Alright, next up is what seems to be our rival, and in the trailer it talks about how depending on what character you pick, like your gender, will determine who your rival is gonna be, which is kinda stupid. I kinda wish they just let you pick, but we'll see. But the male rival is gonna be named Urbane, which is how I think you say, and I think the female rival is called Tawny. Maybe that's how you say it, I'm not completely sure. I would have to hear them say the actual names in the trailer to be sure. Quick little interjection here. I know I just said that I didn't know how to pronounce their names, but I was just watching the trailer over and the narrator quite literally pronounced their names, so when it comes to how you pronounce it, their name is Urbane and Tawny, so that's my fault. Anyway, back to the video. Next up we have Jet and Vinny, and we don't know what they're gonna really play. We know AZ is like watching over a hotel. We don't know if Jet and Vinny are friends with AZ and are helping him or what, but from the way they look, they kind of give me like evil, like team type of vibes with it. Like, I don't know why. I feel like they're gonna be like the main villain or like some type of like twist villain in some type of way, but we'll just have to see, because I know with Gen 8 and somewhat with Gen 9 they've kind of been doing these type of like twist villain things, like they painted Volo as a good guy in Legends Arceus, but by the end of the game he's revealed to be bad. And then with Scarlet and Violet, you would think that Team Star is gonna be like the main antagonist, but in reality, it's the professors and stuff like that. Maybe they're evil, maybe they're not. We'll just have to wait and see until the game comes out. And finally, we have the protagonist. And I gotta say, I think when it comes to like main protagonists, like character designs for the Pokemon games, these are probably the best that we've gotten on the Switch. Like, I never necessarily hated the protagonist designs from all the other Pokemon games, but they kind of just lack that sauce and just that style that some of the older Pokemon games had, and I really fuck with these new designs. And an interesting thing that I saw on Twitter that I saw people point out is that the designs for these two characters kind of resemble Ethan and Lyra from Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and at first I didn't see it, but when you take closer looks at stuff like their hair and how it's styled, you could kind of see a resemblance, but I don't know where the resemblance is gonna really come from. Like, I don't know if they're descendants, like this is way in the future and these are the descendants of these two or what, but I was able to see a tiny bit of resemblance, but we'll just have to see like how they're related in any type of way. But another thing that I also saw people mention is how the male protagonist kind of looks like Professor Sycamore and the female protagonist kind of looks like our mother, Grace, from the X and Y games. And honestly, that is more possible. I could see that being the reason as to why these characters look so familiar, because the hair and just like stuff like that is how it's styled. It's very similar to those two. So if that's the road they want to go down with, then it's completely understandable. Okay, so that covers all the stuff that Cerebi has posted so far. Now it's time to look at the actual trailers. Now, first things first, when it comes to the trailers, I'm just gonna say it off rip. The game doesn't look all that great graphically. Like, literally the first frame of the game, and I can see that this game is kind of taking a lot of its assets from Scarlet and Violet. And as much as I like that game, it didn't look that great, but there are some differences that make it look a little bit better. Like, I saw some people saying that it looked worse or on par, but if you look closely in some places, it's clear that they made some type of effort to make it look better, but it's far from perfect. But another big thing that we got to see is the traversal of this game, and it's gonna be a little bit more different from Legends Arceus, because we could see that the character can use these like these teleporters, right? Like there's teleporters in the game that allow you to go onto the roofs, and we could also see that these characters can climb stuff now. Like in Legends Arceus, you had to have a whole ass Pokemon to help you climb mountains, which, you know, it's a mountain, so it's a little bit more understandable there. These are buildings, so they're more easy to climb. But even then, I'm glad they're adding in a way for making the main characters climb stuff, because in Legends Arceus, it was a bit jittery because of the terrain, and I'm glad that they're finding a way to like fix that. Also, I don't think they're gonna be adding parkour to a Pokemon game, but there is gonna be some type of way that you can travel buildings to buildings, like from large gaps, because they're bringing back the whole Rotom like phone floating thing from Scarlet and Violet. We see in the trailer that the main character can jump off a roof, use their Rotom phone, and like glide over to another building. And I'm kind of curious to see how that will be used. Like, will there be a jump button that allows you to jump off, or will there just be like an automatic thing where you could just walk off the roof, your character will jump, and then it activates it? I'm not sure, but I kind of hope they add some type of jump button, because it would just make a lot more sense, and it will just make traversing the area a lot more easier. Now, the big thing that was revealed in this trailer was Mega Evolution. We knew it was coming back, but now we actually get to see it, and I'm a little bit disappointed. But I'm more or less disappointed in the fact that they didn't show anything new. Like, they all look nice and whatnot, but after waiting a whole year after they announced that they were bringing back Mega Evolutions, you would think that they would show off at least one brand new Mega, but they didn't do that. We just kind of got the ones that we already know about. But besides that, now that we looked at the main trailer, we could kind of look at the extended footage that we got. And one of the things we can talk about, I guess, is the UI, because I know for Legends Arceus, they kind of went with this like old school, like, I guess like paintbrush. I wouldn't say paintbrush, I don't know how you would call it, but they had a completely different like UI style for Legends Arceus that worked really well. But with this game taking place in the future, it's a lot more simplified and stuff like that, which is not bad, but in some areas of the footage that they shown, it looks very crowded. Like there's just like way too much stuff on your screen. Maybe it's just one of those things that you'll just have to get used to, but I really do hope they tone it down in the base game, because it just seems like there's way too much stuff going on in a battle. Like you have the map, you have like the Pokemon like attacking and doing stuff, you have your team and stuff like that in like the bottom corner with your Pokemon and health. There's just a whole bunch of stuff on the screen, so I hope it is turned down in the base game. You can also see in the video that when it comes to the wild zones, right, they have these gates that have numbers on them. Like we could see like a gate 2, a gate 4 and stuff like that. So I'm guessing these are gonna work as the routes for this game. And lastly, when it comes to this game and what we can expect from it, they're bringing back the Zygarde cells. So you know how in Legends Arceus you had to collect all those like Spiritomb wisps? Well, it seems like they're bringing that back, but for Zygarde, as we could see towards the end of the trailer that there's a Zygarde cell just kind of moving around on one of the little roofs. So that kind of lets me know that in order to obtain Zygarde, or like maybe a certain form of Zygarde, we're gonna have to gather all those cells, and we could gather them up and make a form of Zygarde. And we know that at the end of the trailer that we saw Zygarde, I think 10%, I think that's what it is, like the dog form of Zygarde. And we're just gonna have to see how integral that will be to the game. Okay, actually, one more thing. I thought that was gonna be the last point, but this is actually the last point. I completely forgot about this, but towards the end of the trailer, for like the main trailer of the game, we see this Rotom phone like come up out of nowhere, and it talks about a promotional match announcement. Now, I don't know if this is this game's version of the gym battles, because considering it's taking place in the future, gym battles are an established thing on like Legends Arceus, so I don't know if this is the gym battle system. It seems like there is some type of like matchmaking thing for players or trainers and stuff like that, but they were very vague about it. Like we only got like a few seconds of it towards the end of the trailer, but given that it said it was a promotional match, I'm guessing that is basically letting you know like, hey, gym leaders are possibly gonna be in this game, or some type of Pokemon League is gonna be in this game in some way, shape, or form. Alright, but other than that, that was the trailer for Pokemon Legends ZA. Like I mentioned before, I'm gonna put my reaction to the trailer towards the end of this video just because I figured that would be the best place to put it because it was kind of lackluster. But even with it being a little bit lackluster, I am excited for this game. A bit skeptical, but still excited for this game. But I can't wait to see what other stuff they announce for it and what type of videos and news that I can report for this game. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys next time.
Finally.
Okay, ZA.
Legends ZA.
Finally, okay. I just want to know what this game looks like. It kind of, the graphics don't look that great. It looked like Scarlet and Violet for a second. But, oh shit. This gives me like, the art style kind of leans towards more like a blend of Gen 8 and Gen 9. Maybe I'm just tripping. That's the starters? Tepig, Totodile, and Chikorita? You're joking. Okay, and they brought back the catching style from Legends Arceus. What the fuck? You could go on the roofs now? That's new as shit. What the fuck? Okay, you can move around in the battles and shit like that too. Oh, there's the Mega Evolution, finally. Finally, they're finally bringing this shit back, man. Okay, yeah, there's Zygarde, but is there anything new they're gonna show off? Show me off like a new Mega or something. Hold on. So this is more or less taking place in modern day rather than in the past like they did in Legends Arceus.
You'll meet 3 Pokemon, one of which will become
how far in the future I don't really know, but considering fucking Lumina City isn't done yet, it's kind of hard to tell. Okay, this is what the UI looks like. It doesn't look. Oh, this UI looks clean.
If you're having a hard time catching one, have one of your
but it's kind of weird to me. I just realized this that they brought back the Gen 2 starters, but left out well, actually, it's not that weird now that I think about it, because Cyndaquil was in the last Legends game, so bringing in the other two makes sense. Okay, the battle animations don't look too bad. They actually look pretty decent, and it's coming out late 2025. Okay, I thought it would come out like in the middle of 2025, but okay, it's coming out later. Oh, what the fuck is that? Okay, a Rotom phone. What the hell is this? Oh, okay. Okay, so that was basically it. So we got Legends ZA and we got Pokemon Champions, which was like the most standout thing. I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't announce NSO games for like the Game Boy titles, but that wasn't terrible. Like I came out of that kind of pleased with what we saw.